All right, guys, back with another one, man. We have our BMW. I don't even know the model, the submodel. I just know it's a BMW, and I want to say it's a 2004. I'll put it on there in a minute. I'll tell you guys. Yeah, we're doing our inner and outer tire rod. For both sides, the passenger is the same as the driver, and we're using our 19 millimeter socket with a special socket from AutoZone to take off our lug nuts. We got what, five lug nuts, and then we'll do that, get that car raised up. But yeah, that's a 19 with a little special socket from AutoZone or O'Reilly's, either or. So as you see here, I'm speeding it up a little bit because I'm not really good at editing and doing all that stuff like everybody else is, but I try my best. So right now I have the vehicle lifted, supported, and I'm going in the car, and I have both sides supported. So that's why I'm able to move turn the steering wheel. So now I have better access to the tire rod, and I'm able to see it without any problems. So yeah, let me just move it up a little bit closer for you. All right, so yeah, that's our tire rod now. With this one here, and that's why I really wanted to put the BMW model and everything like that. It's a little different than normal American-made cars, of course, obviously, but even so, it's still kind of common. It's more common to American-made cars, but it's still a little different. So if that makes sense, just rock with me, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But yeah, I just kind of just pre-lubed a little bit, sprayed it down or whatever you want to call it. Just put some WD-40 on there, whatever you have in your arsenal, just to help you get it off. Right now, so this is the part I'm going to talk about. So usually when you're doing the inner tire rod or even the outer tire rod, you want to break that nut loose in the middle. It's usually a 22 millimeters nut, and you want to go counterclockwise to get it off. I use grip pliers. Sometimes it's 22, 23, 21, different sizes. Grip pliers works every single time because we're just basically just breaking the nut. We're not really using it to kind of, do what we got to do. So we're not stripping it. We're just using it one time and a couple times, and then we can get it off with our hands. So usually in this process, you would spin that, and then you would go to the tire rod, the outer tire rod that's connected to the knuckle. You would go to that, take that off, and then start spinning off the outer tire rod. But in this case, it wouldn't allow me to do so. But for the time being, right now, I'm gonna go ahead and take off the plastic rings that go around the boot on the inner tire rod, and those you can get with a flathead screwdriver, and you just get under there and just kind of just get under there and flick it off and just get it off as best you can. You can use a hammer to break it up. That's what I did. I just put a hammer under it, and then eventually it's like, chiseling something to get it eventually lift it, and then you can get it off. So, and then after that, you'll be able to see the inner tire rod from that point. So let's see. And I'm showing you real time here because this definitely is not a long job, but I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you sometimes certain things takes a little bit longer than you think. So you guys are getting what actually goes on rather than me just skipping past it and having you do it when you get there. And you can see I'm just trying to get it in there and basically pop it off. Yep, there. Should have got it right there. Oh, I did get it. Okay. I was like, I got it right there. So yeah, get those two off of there. There's one in the front, one in the back. Then we're gonna go ahead and kind of just wedge and pry the tire rod boot. That's gonna be the black piece right there. That is what holds the grease in when you're driving. So that boot is very important. That one I didn't damage it. I could have reused it. Some people did damage theirs to get them off because it's easier. They'll just cut right through it because they already have a brand new one. That is an option. It's paper plastic. It's very, very thin. But if you just maneuver it around the inner tie rod, you can slide it off, and then you'll be able to take it off once you take out the outer tie rod. So now see how it's getting stuck there at the outer tie rod. It won't be able to fully come off until you take it off the knuckle. So that's what we'll do next. Okay, so with the knuckle, we're using a 15 millimeter deep socket. That's gonna be done with a breaker bar or a pipe or impact or whatever you can think to get it off. I'm going to try to use the my 3/8. Oh yeah, did it go with that? Yeah, 3/8 impact to take it off. Boom. Now I'm not going to completely take it off because of course it's hammer time. Now we're going to hammer the knuckle part of the tie rod that it goes into. That should make the tie rod fall down. You have other tools you can use: a pickle fork, a tie rod tool separator. This is for the people who don't have those tools and who have common tools like a good solid 6 to 10 pound hammer. That's what you're going to use. Boom. And then she's out of there. Beautiful. So at that point, then you're able to kind of maneuver that boot out of there, so that way you can get to the inner tie rod. And as you see, I was just playing with the outer tie rod to see if I could take it off, but it was spinning the whole complete tie rod, and so I didn't do that. I just left it on. The inner tie rod as well has certain tools. You can go rent at AutoZone. There's inner tie rod tools on Amazon. There's also grip pliers. Now, grip pliers sometimes aren't the best for every single inner tie rod. There's room. Sometimes they're really on there tight. You have to be really tough to get it off there with grip pliers. But for the most part, this one gave me enough room, and it was pretty small, so I didn't even think about it. I just clamped them on there. Made it a good tight hold, and then went counterclockwise, and then that thing just popped off. So, and you can kind of see the outer thicker part over the ball joint spinning. That's the part you want, because the ball joint can spin all day. That's connected to the tie rod, but the outer thicker part right there, where I just boom, and the ball joint's not moving. So that's the part you're gonna want to spin, so you're not just spinning the ball joint connected to the inner tie rod all day, or the outer tie rod. And of course, it goes off left. It's really easy once you get it off. It's not that hard when people think, but certain tools and stuff like that, you get discouraged. But grip pliers will do the job, especially for this vehicle and this specific model and year. Both sides, like I said before, passenger and driver. So don't forget, there also has that pinion that there's like a gold plate that kind of goes right there between the tie rod. I want to say it's for the stability, the rack and pinion, but yeah, it goes right there. And then this is the install part, so I kind of had to use the ball joint on the tie rod to kind of line it up, and then at that point I was able to do it with my hands and then use the grip pliers just to keep tightening it. Just lightly though, you don't want to mess up the ball joint already, or script it out. But it's kind of hard to do. So you see, I was just making sure it was real tight with my hands, and then I'm gonna go in for the final kill, which I'm gonna go as tight as possible I can with my grip pliers. Now, don't be discouraged. Some people are like, oh, it doesn't have to have a certain torque, or won't it fall off, or is that tight enough? Well, I use the same amount of force, if not a little bit more, to take it off to put it back on. So if you think about it that way, you honestly can't miss with this. Some people won't put it on tight enough, and yeah, that's a problem. But you can strip out. So this is pretty much what you want to do, is just either have the exact torque specs, Or if you don't have that, you're not that advanced, use grip pliers and use the same amount of force that you use to take it off to put it on, and just use a little bit more to just make sure it's in there secure. After that point, you want to grab the ball joint, make sure that it's moving and not the complete tire rod. And then at that point, you want to maneuver and stick the tire rod. Sorry, so many names. You want to put the plastic tire rod. What's the name for it? Oh, it's God. I'm touching it right now. The boot. Good Lord. You want to put the boot back on there, and then if you don't get the new clips that go on there, this one definitely came with new clips. You can use zip ties. Those are perfect. Those work no different from the clips that they give you at the store. So if you don't have the clips, zip ties is what you can use. And as you see here, so you want to kind of get it on the inner tire rod and outer tire rod as perfect as possible. It stretches, but it stretches perfectly. It doesn't stretch to the point where it just won't kind of make it, or it's not looking like it's going to fit. It stretches right. And like I said, so with the whole tire rod, this one, I even tried it with this tire rod. So the outer tire rod doesn't come off. Like you can spin it, but it spins the whole tire rod. So at that point, once you put the outer tire rod back into the into the knuckle, then you can kind of tighten up the middle so it won't just spin, and you won't have it just spinning on you when you're trying to tighten up, because it will come loose. So you just put that one on there for right now, and kind of just put it on there by hand just to lock it down. Well, let's see which one I do first. Because it honestly, after that point, doesn't really matter. It's not gonna come out, but I probably, yeah. So at that point, I'm using my 15 millimeter deep socket and just go ahead and tighten up the outer tire rod back into the knuckle. Now I'm just gonna go tight as I can, and then also I'm gonna use a pipe here in a second to tighten it up, and then I'm just gonna tighten it as much as possible. Now with this one, since I don't have the torque specs or a torque wrench, I'm going to just look at the lines before. Count the amount of lines that's left on the nut when you take off, and then put on the same amount of lines that's left on the nut. So like I said, the same force basically, so you can go ahead and make sure it's secure and it's not going to fall off on you. Now you see I'm pushing that little disc plate to a little bit, the dust shield. That's the thing. It happens sometimes. So you want to make sure sometimes that you, push that back and it's not on the caliper or the rotor when you're driving, because you'll hear that nice skid sound. And you didn't do it, but you just pushed on a little bit. So now it's making a noise and you don't think you did the job right. You did it right. You just didn't push that back. So, and then at this point, I'll tighten the vice grips and then retighten the nut in the middle. Like I said, that's a 21 or 22 millimeter nut. You can use an open-ended wrench to get it tightened or off. I just do not have the tool. They're at AutoZone. You can go buy them, rent them, whatever you have to do. I just have the grip pliers. There we go. Now let's get it on there tight. We're going to probably do that a couple times. And you see the complete tire rod isn't moving, just the nut. And that's good. It wouldn't let me go anymore, so that's great. Yeah, it's gonna look a little weird right now, just because it's turned all the way in. But that's what you want to look for, man. That's it. Now I'm just tightening it back up. At the end, I'm gonna put back on the silver clips that go to the inner tie rod boot, and then we're good to go. You guys have any questions or comments or concerns, please definitely leave them in the comments. Squeeze those together. Don't let me forget. Squeeze those together, and the brand new ones, you just squeeze it and it pops loose, and you pop it on there. Those are so simple. But yeah, you guys, any questions, any comments, concerns, leave them in the comments. Any tips? I'm only 27, so I'm just kind of starting out, but at the same time, I got a good gist of it, you know. But anything, any older mechanic or any mechanic that's been doing it kind of would help me out with, let me know. Other than that, if you like the video, please drop a like and subscribe, man. I'm doing this all the time, you know, so I try to get as much as content as I can possible. So you guys like the content, please like it, share it, tell your friends, and support. That's all I need, and that works. So yeah, thanks you for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoy.